Welcome back to Wild Speculations. I'm Daniel.
I'm Scott.
This week we talk about Critical Role Campaign 2, Episode 119, Malice and Mystery Below.
Yes. Right off the bat, first few minutes, when he's doing the recap, I was like, that's why Dan said the Rancor trick won't work. I totally spaced it. I remember the doors, opening and closing opposite each other.
Yeah.
And I remember when he said it the week before, the door slams shut and goes off the track again. I was like, okay, that's going to be something. Forgot about it when we filmed. Right when he was doing the recap and he talked about the door, so I was like, Dan was right about the Rancor not working. Right off the bat. And then sure enough, she's like, I Rancor it. He's like, okay, it doesn't work. Remember, the door's off the hinge. They can't switch. And I was like, yep.
Yeah. And I was super excited about being right about the stun.
Yes.
Effect.
And I love the way that it worked.
Yeah.
That it going off the anglerfish lure and yeah.
Yeah. And I think it was if you were within the light. So
Yeah.
dim or bright.
Yeah, and the light that it sheds. Yeah.
Without Matt explaining the mechanics of it, just how he narrated it and where everyone was when they did and didn't.
Yeah.
Have to make the check.
Definitely.
But one thing that I was wrong about was the tight squeeze tunnel.
Yes.
Portion. But now we have more than one data point, so I'm comfortable going the other way and saying that will be a theme.
You were wrong, but you weren't wrong, because they did go to that tunnel where it was one person and they had the blockage with Knot and Jester and Bo. So it wasn't a tight squeeze, but it was a pretty narrow squeeze.
Yeah.
It was about as close as you get to being tight without squeezing rules coming into effect.
Well, and it seemed like Matt had...
Because if a halfling can be a blockage.
Yeah. It seemed like Matt may have had a mechanic in place, but because they used the rope, he didn't go through with it. I don't know. I guess part of me wonders why he hasn't made them make some kind of check to get through these things.
Yeah.
Because on the one hand, it makes narrative sense that these things are here and they prevent passage.
Definitely.
Or dissuade it. But to not have a check kind of mean there's no mechanics behind that narrative.
Well, okay, so...
And not that that's a bad thing, but...
For me, there are times when I'll be like, there's something a way through something, and they can either do this series of checks that I have, or if they have a creative way, if they have a resource to bypass it, I just let them through.
Yeah.
And it could be something like that.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, they're thinking this through, they're planning, I'm just going to give it to them because they're actually doing something. They're not just, we go through.
Well, and, I'm not suggesting that the fail state is they don't go through.
Right, neither am I.
But, time.
Toppling headfirst into an underground forest.
Yeah. Hit dice expenditure, levels of exhaustion.
Yeah.
You make it past this thing, but
there's a cost.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And we just haven't seen that yet.
True.
We might not. And again, that I don't know, there's such high level that environmental concerns become less of a concern.
Yeah.
So it's sort of how, and also what line and what theme do you want to tread in the story you're telling? Does Matt want to tell the dangerous delve into the unknown? where the environs themselves are dangerous, just like above ground, where the snow and tundra is, or is it more the chase aspect where they're trying to get everything before?
Yeah, I think that's more the aspect we're going for in this go around. Although I will say, not environs per se, but I believe I mentioned it briefly either last week or the week before on screen. I know I definitely mentioned to you off screen, but we've got some things that are coming up that are going to be challenges, whether the environs are or not.
Yeah. The fight was fun. The fight was interesting. So they didn't try to polymorph it, but Jester had that in her back pocket when she was like, I want to cast the spell, but I can't until he's out of the legendary resistances. She was holding polymorph for that. You think?
I think. Laura with Jester has tended to go on sprees, I guess. This is working, I'm going to keep doing this. This is working, I'm going to keep doing this.
Mm.
And I think she's on her polymorph spree right now.
Okay.
And it'll wear itself out. It will.
I would argue that polymorph is the spell to use the legendary resistances with.
I'm not arguing that at all. I'm not arguing against that at all. I'm saying Jester wanted it to succeed because she's on her polymorph spree.
You don't think it was banishment?
No. We had the spiritual weapon spree. We very rarely see that anymore. We had the spiritual guardian spree. We rarely see that anymore. We're now on the polymorph spree.
And polymorph will be forever, possibly, because it's a domain spell.
Yeah.
So it's always prepared.
It'll always at least be a fallback.
Yeah.
But she just kind of has these, and so I think she was holding polymorph, wanting to polymorph it.
Yeah.
There was no indicator that this thing was from another plane. So while banishment would send it to a pocket dimension, it wouldn't have the chance of sending it there permanently. It would just automatically come back.
Fair.
So, not that polymorph at this level is going to be permanent either, but
yeah. And an interesting thing, Matt went with his failure against the Sood.
Yes.
Because technically the legendary resistance could have worked against that.
Yep. It could have. It's a saving throw.
Yep.
I think Sam's love of ones is rubbing off on him.
It's possible.
Or just see what they're going to do. It doesn't get her out. Are they going to wake it right back up?
That's true.
Let's save it for something else.
And I think that's what he was counting on.
Yeah.
Is it would be wake it. It's basically costing it a round of actions.
Yeah.
A turn of actions. But yeah, that's fair.
We did get to see the wild magic with the natural 20 on the inflict wounds.
Yes, we did.
And necrotic butterflies. As Matt said, I checked the table and that's on brand.
Yeah, it's one of those cases where there's almost no better evidence that the dice know.
Yeah. Oh, it's the blue one. Okay. We're getting to the butterflies.
Which, while we were prepping for the show, I was like, I thought back to The Mandalorian.
Oh, yeah.
When Grogu is on the Seeing Stone,
mm-hmm.
and it's the butterflies that float by, and that's what finally gets him to touch the stone and triggers the thing.
Yeah.
So I was like, is Grogu a wild magic sorcerer?
Wild magic Jedi.
But, yeah. The fight makes me worry for them, though. because they have no internal strategy between them.
No.
And
they missed several things that would have
if
been key. Like we talked about, if Ford had waited to hit it, now granted he wouldn't be guaranteed a crit, but he did roll a natural 19, which would be a crit.
Yeah.
Caleb would have automatically gotten the damage for the disintegrate. Also, if he had waited and Caduceus had done his path to the grave,
that hit, that 19 for the crit would have, and so if all the dice stayed the same,
yes,
just the timing of the events were different.
Yep.
And Caduceus had done path to the grave, his divine smite, the first one, would have been worth 150 damage.
Yep.
And disintegrate is
10d.
No, I think it's like 6 or 8 d10 plus 70.
Okay, I was thinking 10d6, 60.
Yeah.
10d6. I just had my numbers flipped.
I mean, you could be right. I didn't look at it, but I just know it's a
chunk plus a huge chunk.
Yeah.
Yeah, huge modifier.
But that's potentially another 100 damage there.
Yeah, easily.
So, yeah. But it worries me that
the only inner strategy they have is a self-defeating one, which is have the two sentinels stand by it with nobody else. And like I said, Ford's not going into melee. This whole episode, Ford was just normal Ford, as if the events of the episode before had not transpired. There was no role play on it. There was no action role play on it. It was just, that cutscene's done. Back to the game.
Yeah. Yeah, I do wonder. But it's like here's why I say I'm worried, and this isn't a case of me trying to backseat drive. They're going up against the Tomb Takers.
Yeah.
From everything that we've seen, a smaller party, but equal to or higher level than them.
And very coordinated.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so that's why I'm saying, like, they have a few things that they do every now and then, but by and large, they don't have the setup knockdown.
Yeah.
They don't have the X-Men coordination of Colossus throwing Wolverine.
Yep. And technology.
Yeah.
But the Tomb Takers, basically the Haynes sisters, they think and they act as one.
Yeah.
Throw out a White Christmas reference.
I wonder if Matt designed their abilities in such a way as to do it to trigger these kind of.
Oh, I'm sure he did. The Tomb Takers are the Chroma Conclave of Campaign 2. So they're going to have synergy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we did have the questionable use of Sood. Both in whether it was creative. Was it optimal? Probably not. And it did cause the whole cast both to break down into jokes and then immediately go into panic mode and do a PSA about not drugging babies.
Yeah.
Which, yes, drugging babies is bad. Drugging anybody is bad.
Yes.
Do your own drugs. Well, take that as you will. Don't force them on other people is all I'm saying.
Yeah. We got a rare Caduceus. How do you want to do this?
Yes. With a blight spell.
Yeah.
And we got to see...
Which I believe is a domain spell, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got to see, and we've seen glimpses of it before with the eyes going, as Taliesin says, necrotic and everything. But we got to see a full view of it.
Yeah,
and it was pretty awesome.
Yeah, the grave cleric sending them to the grave.
Yes. So that was a lot of fun. And I love that it happened the very action after Bo
demanded they kill it.
She's just like, fucking kill it already, people. Yeah, it's like, oh, all right, fine. That's how we're doing this. Okay, I wasn't aware. Sorry, guys.
Which was 2 turns after Matt said, oh, it's looking real rough. And Travis like, real rough. I think Travis made the fight really. Like, Ford's actions, here or there.
Travis's reactions.
As always.
Oh, it's real bad now.
And the panicking when both melee fighters.
Instantly.
Yeah.
Boom, boom. Okay, those 2 are out. Who's your next frontline combatant?
So good.
Interesting thing. Now, I don't know the Gorm stats. All I know is what I saw Matt narrate. But one of the things when at the end when they're carving it up and talking about harvesting the spine for bone harps and Bo's like, well, can I, haven't been in it, can I, see? And he says, as you look, you realize there's no real digestive tract. Which says, if it had been successful in digesting Bo, it would have gained some of her abilities. All those arms and stuff, grown another set of arms, something. It absorbs into itself the things it eats. Because if there's no real digestive tract to come out the other end, it's absorbing the people it swallows and adding them to its...
I mean, possibly, but...
That's how I interpreted what he's... Because the way he was saying it, he was just like, there's something there about it.
Well, that gets into that, like, does an Atu have
That's true.
an anus? And does it need one if all it eats is waste? What comes out the other end?
It's true.
There are things that, like, it could be that it harvests life for magical energies.
That's true.
And it might be it might be feeding the trees below. I mean,
true.
Although
I like the idea of absorbing, getting Bo's arms, and then it's this Gorm with flurry of blows and extract aspects.
Yeah.
That's my headcanon for it. Until I see actual stats, that's my headcanon for it.
Interesting.
We also had the discussion over when you can use an extra reaction.
Yeah. She tried to get extra attack out of it.
Yeah. Yeah, you can get an extra reaction right now. You can't use that reaction right now because you've already used it. You can only use 1 reaction per trigger.
Yeah. So nice clarification there.
Yes. And I think Liam did it best when he stepped in and said, well,
if there were another person in this fight and they trigger a reaction, you could use it then.
Yeah, you can use that reaction then. You can use it, you can gain the reaction now so that you have it whenever you want it, but you don't get to use it on that same trigger.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, man. Which would make a scout Cobalt Soul Monk multi-class.
Yeah.
Insane. Because they could just keep using key points to use their reaction to move back.
Yep.
Or to move wherever.
Wherever, just half their speed. Which increases because you're now monk.
I'm glad I didn't think of that when my daughter was making her character. I mean,
Natalie, if you see this episode next time,
the Kinsey and Scout combo is effective enough. But it also wouldn't give her the extra D4 on the ranged attacks that she is really taking advantage of. But anyway,
no, but being able to flurry with monk weapons and extract aspects on the flurry at range with the bow. If you had them both, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Or if you even use Natasha's, where you can pick a weapon you're proficient with and make it a monk weapon.
Yeah.
Okay. So now I'm a scout with a bow, and I can extract aspects at 600 feet.
Yeah. But we have Veth trying to rescue people still. And the great opener of the line of the fight, Set No Bitches, was great. And Jester's crit right off the bat was choice. And I loved when they're like, "Are you close to death?" "I'm fine." And they're like, "That means she's gonna die. She's close to death."
Your scan would show me. I'm gonna drink I thought you said you were fine. Well, I am. I won't be after the next hit, but I am right now. Which I've said things to that effect multiple times in our game. I'm fine. How many hit points do you have? I can take half a hit.
Yeah. But they move on to the laboratory.
Yes.
And Laura, as usual, on top of it.
Yep.
Does this look like where that thing was hanging out? Yeah. Okay. But she gets gun-shy when Matt asks her to make an investigation check. She asked a question, and Matt says, "Make an investigation check." And she wants, for about 3 seconds, she thinks about trying to pawn it off on Bo, Caleb, or even Veth.
Yep.
And then she's like, "No, I'll make the roll." Which is echoed later when Matt asks Taliesin to make a nature check.
Mm-hmm.
And he decides to forego it.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's the first time this campaign that they have done that.
Yeah.
Because we talked about it very early on, how admirable it was that Travis and Liam, who mechanically should be the face of the party, they should be the ones doing the talking all the time.
Yeah.
Didn't. And still really don't.
Yeah, with the 20 and the 16, the two highest charismas.
Yeah. They let Veth, charisma 7, or 8 now.
Yeah.
Do the talking. So, and I don't know if that's the pressure of being close again to Molly, Lucian, that they feel a little extra pressure.
Yeah.
Or I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah.
It just seemed out of left field a little bit.
Yeah.
But Caleb, where he tried to talk Bo up after the fight with the monstrosity, where she felt useless. He's like, I did nothing in that fight.
Except for waste spell slots.
Yeah. All his high-end ones.
Yeah.
In the laboratory, he's reading things, detecting magic. He's doing all the side stuff that he sort of built Caleb to do.
Yep.
To great effect. Do you think the only moment of that bit that I sort of question, and I wonder why, other than they perhaps just didn't think about it, was Jester casts locate object. And she gets a ping on roughly the direction it is, how far. And then Caleb casts Identify ritually. And then ritually casts Alarm again later.
Yep.
And she lost Locate Object and had to use another spell slot.
Yep.
So, in theory, she used 3 instances of that spell when 2 probably would have gotten them through.
Yeah.
And arguably, the duplicate probably saved her from getting whammied and eaten.
Yeah.
So, probably a good sacrifice.
Yes.
Of the spell slot. But the Caleb casting Identify, which Jester is the one who asked him to do it. But, like, did she do that without realizing it was going to be that long? Or that he would have to do it ritually?
I think she didn't think about, because he's really the only one that does ritual casting.
Yeah, even though the clerics can.
Clerics definitely can.
Well, they occasionally ritually cast Commune.
Yes.
But that's the only one, really.
Occasionally.
Yeah.
And even then, they use slots as often as they ritually cast it.
Yeah.
But we do see glimpses of the Aeoran hunters, 2 of the 3.
Yep.
Super excited.
The Absorber and
the Nullifier.
So
the Nullifier, which is the yellow upright one, can reaction counterspell. Just as their reaction. Unlimited times.
What's its...
its base level.
Well, I mean, but what's its casting modifier? Do you remember? Offhand?
I do not remember.
Okay. +3 or +4?
I think it's a 3. It's definitely... I don't think it's a 4. Pretty sure it's a 3. The Absorber, which is the quadrupedal one with the tail, when they are hit with a damaging spell, they take half damage and can redirect the other half back at the caster if they're within 60 feet.
Probably through the tail, the eye.
Yep, exactly. And then the third one that we didn't see, which is really going to make things, is the, what was it called? Rejector? Reverser. Which, you're healing within 60 feet of me. Okay, well, they don't heal and instead they take force damage. And that's going to be great when Caduceus is like, oh, they dropped. I got full hit point. Oh, no, you don't. They're taking 3d10. Oh, that's a death save. Fail.
Well, here's the thing, though. He casts a spell like Heal or something. That's 70 hit points. That's negative
Well, they do.
Luckily, most of them are over 70.
Yeah, it's not the amount that you would have healed you take.
Oh, it's just a straight 3d10.
I think the base is 3d10, but it
okay.
varies on the level of the spell, I think.
Okay.
But still, heal. It's not like you're targeting someone being healed. You're targeting the spell. Oh, I healed 6 people. Okay, they're all taking damage.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Mass healing word, mass cure
wounds, healing, prayer of healing. Oh, yeah, we're just going to reverse that. Take damage, everybody.
Oh, man, that is such a... If Matt wants to mess with them, that's the way to do it. They finish a fight, and he's got one of them
lurking.
Yeah. Caduceus starts a prayer of healing. None of you heal that damage. Instead, you take...
That's...
What?
Yeah.
Roll initiative.
Negate that, crit, Caduceus.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, how long before the crit roll shop has a add 1d4 shirt?
It has to be like the easy button. Add 1d4. Add 1d4. Add 1d4.
With Dallas's voice.
Yeah, and just or like an amethyst.
Yeah,
like his amethyst crystal. Add 1d4.
That'll be announced in January. Some intern's gonna get a raise.
Yasha was basically the lifter, holder, and messenger, which was my favorite segment of that.
Which, first Caduceus, now you can reply this mission. Hold on! No, you can whisper. He won't hear me. Then they explain it to her. Okay, I got it now. It was great.
I just realized you might not be responding because I called you not. I'm sorry. And it doesn't help that Caleb pulled out the wire and cast the spell.
No. It made it better. But
yeah. Well, it doesn't help.
It didn't help. It didn't help, but it made it better. Yes. For the viewers.
Yes.
Do want to mention one thing back at the battle. At the very end, after the thing's dead, Ford walks up, picks.
Oh.
Yeah, see, I'm the hero. Yeah.
I'm wondering, and I wish I would have thought of it before now, but now I kind of want to watch and see Jester's reaction to Ford's.
Ooh, yeah.
But because...
Yeah.
That's straight off a romance cover.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if that had been Jester.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah. So.
Also, one of the things I was disappointed in, there was no check on anyone inside. This thing's mouth is ringed in arms. How do they know the arm that is grabbing them is really trying to get them out?
Yeah.
That was my thought process. Like, how do they know who's... And then especially when Sam, just to poke at Travis, it's like, this twig! Yeah. Which brings me to what my observation about Ford in the laboratory. In Deep Space Nine, there's the Sword of Kahless episode.
Yep.
Where Worf, Jadzia, and Kur go off to find the Sword of Kahless.
Yep.
And they find it, having all these things, and they're having a fight, and Kur is like, well, you better do something. Otherwise, when it gets to your verse, it's going to be, and Worf was there. I felt like that's Ford's contribution. And Ford was there.
Yes. As soon as you said Deep Space Nine, I knew that's where you were going. That's great.
Yeah, it's just... And, like, how fast he was kissing Caleb's ass when Caleb's getting frustrated. He's like, I told him I could turn into an owl, and going down there, and who's up here? Me?
I stayed with you the whole time.
And once again, we see that Caleb is the leader. So good. But Matt talked about how that tunnel continues.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that is another way out? Or do you think that just goes to other chambers? Do they roll the dice to go that way?
I don't think it's another way out.
Okay.
I think it's probably to other chambers, and there's probably something there that one or more party member will want, but is not what they need, if that makes sense.
A way to get them to stay down there?
Yeah.
And risk running into the Tomb Takers?
Risk running into the Tomb Takers, expend resources to get X, which will be helpful, but will not be necessary.
We got a look at, well, arguably the definitive origin of the corruption in the Savalier Wood.
Yep.
And the Elven City near Uthadurn. I'm drawing a blank. That Rena would go take jobs to. Was some sort of Aoran tree cultivated.
Mm-hmm.
And oddly enough, I don't know, and I don't want to say inherently invasive, but there's a phenomenon in trees, especially broadleaf trees,
mm-hmm.
where if you look up in through the canopy, they don't actually touch.
Yeah.
The trees don't touch each other. They get close, but they don't. Whereas these trees seem to be interwoven, and you can do that with wire and stuff and make them grow together. But in a healthy forest with trees spaced properly, they don't interact.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that plays in at all, or if that's just a detail, an accidental detail.
I don't know. I like to think it'll play in, because the reason they do that is because if you overlap, then you're cutting into your surface area for your resources, the sunlight. If you don't overlap, you're getting everything.
Yeah.
So. And I think that's why things are dying is because they're overlapping too much.
See,
or that's what's causing
I think the mechanism, that's what causes them to spread and infect others. But I think the trees themselves are designed to consume or store or transmit magical energy.
Okay.
Like that's why these things were still alive down here.
Right.
And not totally dead. So we'll see. I assume we will see because we still have to go to Caduceus's Grove.
Yep.
At some point. With Mika being on don't want to get into that kind of speculation where Greenie could show up or they get a message from her.
Yeah.
But I think we are going to see the Absorber and Nullifier in that room.
Yeah, I think so.
Matt gave him just enough to confirm this is where you need to be. What you're looking for is here. And that's what we're going to pick up next time. Instead of triggering the encounter, rolling for initiative and all that jazz, it was, you are in the right place. Thursday begins. Who's entering the room first?
Yep.
I think will be his question to them. And then they're going to go, because they will have spent all week arguing about whether or not to destroy the crystal or take it for themselves.
Yep.
And I really want Caleb to take it because I had a thought over the weekend.
Okay.
I could be wrong, but I don't remember Matt making a distinction between the crystals that form the threshold crests and the crystals that airships use.
Mm-hmm.
They're both described as blue crystals.
No, I think they are indeed the same type of crystals on different scales.
Yeah, and
same
different enchantments used around them. So my thought was, how awesome would it be for Caleb to get one or more of these and build himself a flying tower?
Ooh.
That he makes manifests physically his mansion.
Yeah.
But builds it on top of these crystals and flies it to Rexington.
That would be cool.
And he becomes the 10th candle, because I think there's 9 candles. Or 6. God, I don't remember now. But he becomes the floating candle of Rexington.
Yeah.
Reclaiming his Zimnian Aoran roots. Flying city roots. I am the wizard of this.
Yeah. That'd be good.
And in that way, he can almost sidestep confronting Trent. He doesn't have to take his place. He just makes his own.
Yeah.
And then you get Widowgast's flying tower that goes between, well, wherever he wants, but possibly between Rexington and
Nicodranas.
Well, I was thinking the Dynasty.
Oh, Xhorhas.
Rosanna.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could do a triangle path.
Yeah.
It's got to visit Jester.
Fair. But yeah, I just had that image of Caleb's flying tower with the crystals that they harvest from up here. And I'm just like, I want that to happen.
That would be neat. I think that's more of an epilogue thing than an in-game thing.
Yeah, probably. I mean, that's...
But still.
Every Archmage needs his tower.
True.
do you think Caduceus's efforts at leaving the Guardian of Faith will bear fruit?
I wanted to say no.
The only way that it does, I think, is they stay down there, either resting after fighting whatever's in the room.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a nullifier and an absorber would be a difficult encounter for them.
Yeah. Easily.
Because I think one is CR8 and one's like a CR12 or 13.
Yeah, I think
if memory serves. And then the other one is like a CR15, something like that.
I believe it's 8, 11, and 13.
Oh, okay.
But either way.
Still, and 8 and 11, that's...
Still, and especially given what they can do and that the party doesn't know what they can do. Because like Matt said to Sam, I've told you which pages you can't read. So they know not to look at, and I believe that they are the ones that would not, none of them are the player that would, don't look at this.
Or I'm going to look at that,
Yeah.
And none of the games that they have set in Tal'Dorei have been in this part of the world. It's all been.
Right. And these are things that they've never encountered before.
Yeah.
Unless they did off-screen, which I doubt because they were way too low a level to handle them in Campaign 1 off-screen before the stream started.
Yeah. Well, no, at 8 and 11.
Yeah, I guess
would be if there's 2 of the 8 and an 11. That's a deadly encounter, I think.
Okay.
The problem is with 7 players, the CR system is ineffective.
The absorber is the level 8 one. I know that much.
Yeah.
And that's the one with the tail and redirect the damage.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure the
one thing that's going to save them is they've wasted almost all their high level spells.
Yeah.
So they don't have 7th level fireballs to throw at these things that will send half of it back at you.
Yeah, that's true.
It's going to be the lower level spells that you're going to like. It's not going to say that you're not going to be able to throw a Widowgast Web of Flame back at them.
Locate object, I think, is 2nd level.
Yes.
So Jester's out of 2nd level. She's burned to 3rd level. She went through 2 6th level and a 5th level, I think.
So she does have a 7th level spell she can.
Yeah.
So, depending on what they do, there's going to be things either flying back at them, which is going to freak them out, or counterspelled, which is going to freak them out. See, that's the thing when you have the absorber and the nullifier fighting together. Oh, it's a high level? Well, we're going to send it back at you. Oh, it's a low level? Well, I'm just going to counterspell that.
Yeah. Which will, in theory, make Bo and Yasha shine. And Veth.
Yes.
Do you think Ford gets in the mix in that fight? Out of necessity? Because it reflects his Eldritch Blasts?
Perhaps, yeah. I think he spent some time...
He's got his 5th levels back, because they took a short rest.
No, he doesn't. This is what he does.
Okay.
Oh, fuck. I got hit with my own Eldritch Blast. Okay. Let's summon the demon.
Mm-hmm. Which will be counterspelled. But
I think he'll try to summon the demon. If it gets counterspelled, then yes, he'll go in.
Okay.
Why fight when you can have peons do it for you?
That's what he has Bo for. I mean,
that's what that's the creed of every tyrant. Ford's not a tyrant. I don't dislike Ford. I'm just calling him evil because he is evil. I love the character. He's just evil. You can love the bad guy.
I'm so looking forward to the confrontation with Vandren.
Right?
You did what? You unleashed 2/3? You unlocked 2/3 of the... Yeah.
And then almost gave a Bantica?
Yeah.
Are you working with Sabian?
I'm also waiting for that.
Yeah.
When Ford realizes that Sabian blew up the ship to stop the plot of Ukutoa.
Yeah.
And Ford has to go, shit. Does he forgive him at that point, or does he still kill him?
I think he forgives him after Caduceus talks him down. Caduceus gives him a pep talk, and he sees, okay, yeah. Whether it's in the moment or before, hey,
Fair. If they wipe out if they take the crystal, because I don't think... Well, no, we have seen that these crystals are breakable.
Yes.
They almost broke one in Campaign 1.
But does breaking it really all you need to do? Or is a few broken pieces, but they're all there, still good enough to bring it back? So,
what if one of the Tomb Takers has the Wheel of Mending? That one of their stops in their early career was Draconia. And they got the Wheel of Mending from Tiberius's
grave.
Yeah.
That
would be an excellent Campaign 1 tie-in.
Yeah. Laura would lose her shit.
And it would be fitting also because
Laura would be the first one to lose her shit. And then everyone else would be like, oh yeah, oh fuck.
Well, I made the comment that Caleb, his use of telekinesis when we were doing our show prep, everything in his physicality in that moment reminded me of Orion and Tiberius, because Tiberius was always using telekinesis to try to rip tentacles or whatever off of creatures. And it never worked for him either.
Every spell has a limit, guys. Every spell has a limit. Even Wish has limits.
Yes. I'm trying to think if there's anything that we missed that we want to touch on? Oh, yes.
Okay.
Big thing.
Mm-hmm.
May or may not be super important, but Bo specifically asks, I want to search for papers. And she's like, she targets the cleavage. He's like, is that different enough so she could get a roll? Because Jester didn't find whatever it was she was looking for. She rolls really high, and Matt describes her reaching her hand and finding a cavity. She's, but they found no papers on her.
Mm-hmm.
Not even a spell book.
Yep.
Why were there no papers? Why is there no spell book? And does that have anything to do with why lewdness has her there?
Mm. Maybe.
Because if you're sending people on covert missions, you don't send them with paperwork that can incriminate you.
True.
Now, why she doesn't have a spell book is a whole other matter.
Yes.
But it does speak to that there might be someone or something else down here. And she had a party of 5 that went in with her.
Mm-hmm.
They found 2 of the bodies inside the stomach of the baby. They found her. Did they find another body in that lab? I don't think they did.
I don't think they did.
So there's potentially 2 other people floating around down here. Or unaccounted for.
Yep.
So, is that perhaps what's down the other tunnel?
Perhaps.
Or is that what's in the chamber with the crest? Because if they were also spellcasters, they also could have dispelled magic, and it just resets.
Yeah.
At a whatever interval.
Yeah.
Or maybe their bodies are in there with.
Yeah.
But the fact that there was no spell book and no papers doesn't seem like an oversight.
No, it
seems like a
intentional.
Yeah. Also, there's also potential that Matt just doesn't just want to give
Caleb another spell book.
Yeah.
And I mean, it could be that, like so many tropes. It's been done in Stargate. It's been done in Rick and Morty, where they're trapped in this area. They go mad. They start reporting. They become the bad guy. Like I think it was season 2, early season 2 or late season 1 of SG-1, where Sam's ex-husband made himself a god on the planet and was working the people to death in the mine, hanging them out in the sun when there was no UV protection.
Yeah, I think I vaguely remember that one.
Yeah. It could be like maybe these other 2, maybe they're down there and they're an enemy now.
Well, I mean, they would have reason to attack them, whether or not they had gone native or whatever. Just because they don't know who the hell they are. And if you have the jump on them, take the surprise.
Well, I mean, if
they're getting beat, then they ask, hey, like the Yetis did.
Yeah.
The Yetis jumped them, and then when they were getting their ass kicked, hey.
Can we be friends?
Yeah.
But, I'm thinking, maybe, the 2 of them, one of them went native, started attacking the other one, like, oh, crap, you're here. Thank you. You have to save me from...
Yeah.
He's killed the rest of,
It could be a San Meal in Event Horizon kind of thing.
Yeah.
This person worships these ruins.
Yeah.
Brings people down here to feed them into the grinder.
Yep.
Yeah, possibly. But tonight is
Talk. That's ship, not shit.
Laura and Ashley on Talks tonight. So we will see you guys next week.
Yes.